Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you guys how we are doing chicken wings tonight and how I make our chicken wings that are going to be super crispy, and then also the dressings that go with them. Now, I have been making my own homemade dressings for a long time now. I think it started initially with, you know, maybe trying to cut out chemicals and things or less processed, but then I started making them and I just fell in love with them. Now, I don't make all of our salad dressings. There are some that I will buy, but for the most part, when it comes to ranch and blue cheese, I always make homemade. And that started also too because we would go to Taco Mac when we lived in Atlanta, and I loved their ranch dressing. It was thick and it was really garlicky, and so I wanted to recreate that at home. And this is as close as I can get to that. I don't know what the recipe is. It's obviously something that they don't share with people. It was just me kind of creating something based on just putting some ingredients together, figuring out the measurements, and I love it. Now, these dressings are thick, which is what I actually prefer, but you can, of course, thin them out with either buttermilk to make a buttermilk ranch, or you can also add just regular milk. We are going to be making ranch and blue cheese first. Want to get those done because they need to sit for a few hours just so the flavors can like marry together and get a little bit more developed. And then after that, we will be prepping the chicken wings for the two-part process to make them ultra crispy. It is football season, and while wings are good any time of the year, they just taste better when football's on. I don't know what it is, but they just do. So let me get started on these salad dressings so we can get those in the fridge. All right, for my dressings, there are some basic ingredients and they're almost identical. It's just the garlic's a little bit different in the measurement, and one has blue cheese and one has chives. So let's go through it. We're gonna do sour cream, mayonnaise. Now I prefer, a thicker mayonnaise. This is just one I get from Aldi's. I think it's just as good as Hellmann's, but I do like a thicker one for this. And then it's also gonna have Worcestershire sauce, ground mustard, garlic, onion powder. The chives are for the ranch, and then it's gonna have salt and pepper, and then, oops, it's upside down here. And then blue cheese obviously is for the blue cheese dressing. So let me show you how I put them together. And again, they're almost identical. The only difference is I put a little less garlic in the blue cheese than I do in the ranch. All right, so we're gonna start with the ranch dressing first, and I start with that because I put chives in it, and I feel like I use the same bowl. I don't need to rinse it out. I can just do the blue cheese following. I just don't want the blue cheese into the ranch. I don't mind a little bit of the chives from the ranch into the blue cheese because you won't notice it. So anyways, we are gonna start with 3/4 cup of sour cream. So we're gonna get that measured out. And honestly, it doesn't have to be super precise. It can be a little more, a little less. If you don't have maybe enough sour cream, you can do that. From here, I'm just gonna set this aside. And then it's gonna be 1 1/3 cup of mayo. I will have the recipe linked below for you to check out. Again, this is super simple. And I find that this just tastes way better than anything that you can buy at the store, and my family loves it. So I use it not only for salads and dips for like chicken wings and fries and things like that, but again, we use it for veggies and everything. Pizza. My daughter loves to put a bunch of onion powder on her pizza and then dip it in ranch dressing, which I think a lot of people like the ranch and pizza. So, all right. Now, I can't really see the 1/3 mark because now my cup is a mess, but I can kind of gauge it by looking at it. And like I said, it doesn't have to be exact because there's been plenty of times where, quite honestly, I'm tired, but I need to make it. And I don't want to measure things out. So I'll just kind of plop it in a bowl and mix it and be like, you know what, that's close enough. So, all right, so we've got our ingredients there, and now we're just gonna add our seasonings. So we're just gonna start with the pepper first, and it's just a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and I just use regular ground pepper. I don't use cracked black pepper because you don't want to bite into that. And then it's just gonna be a half a teaspoon of salt. And again, that can be any salt. I use a sea salt for most things, but you can use just regular table salt. It doesn't have to be. Let's see, I don't know if you guys can see that, sorry. I'm having a hard time here getting quite that angle. All right, and then we are going to add in a half a teaspoon of onion powder. And this is where it gets a little different with the garlic. I put in a teaspoon, and I'm just gonna use the half measuring twice just to not dirty up the other one yet. And then I will do a teaspoon of garlic for the ranch and only half a teaspoon for the blue cheese. So, and then also for the dry mustard, it's just a half a teaspoon. And then I'm gonna measure out 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Make sure to give it a good shake. Get all that flavoring that's down at the bottom. And then add in just 1 teaspoon. I might have said tablespoon, but it's just 1 teaspoon. Try that out. Now for the size, the original recipe is like 2 tablespoons for it. Now you can measure. I just do heaping, or you can just kind of dump some in there. It doesn't really matter. And then that's it. That is how I make my ranch, and you guys can kind of see right there. There's all the ingredients in there. And I'm just gonna give it a good whisk. Let's see if you guys can see that. Now, when I make this, if I follow the directions exactly for the measurements, I don't need to taste it to make sure that they're balanced, because I know that they are. However, if you are putting it in there and you're just kind of eyeballing it, definitely taste it and make sure it's how you want it. But you can see once it's mixed up, there we go. Hopefully you can catch that with the lighting. That's how it is. And you can see it's thick, which is again how I like it. If you want to thin it out, just start with about probably a half a cup of milk, and then just a little bit after that, maybe a 1/4 cup after that, till you get the consistency that you want. So we're going to put this in a container. In a glass container, I usually just use my ball canning jars, but you can put it in plastic or whatever. So we're going to go ahead. Now it always winds up being a little bit more. This is a pint-sized jar, and so I always wind up having a little bit more. So I've got just a glass container, and I'll put half ranch, half blue cheese in here, just to save it, and I'll use this tonight. Not everyone in the family likes the blue cheese. I think it's pretty much just me. So let's get this in here. And again, within a couple of hours, this is ready to use. I mean, you could eat it right away if you wanted to, but just know that the flavors are going to just taste a little bit better within a few hours, and even more so by the next day. All right, so you can see that we're pretty full. Kind of made a little bit of a mess, but we'll get that cleaned up. Paper towel right here before we put the lid on. All right, you can see I have quite a bit still in here. If I double it, it's the same thing is going to happen. I put it into a quart-sized jar, and then I still have to fill this. So it works. It's not a big deal. So I'm just going to fill this container with the ranch. All right, and actually it's got quite a bit in here, so I may actually do another container for the blue cheese. Sometimes, I'm not really sure why, sometimes I feel like it fills it up, sometimes I feel like it doesn't. So, but we have a nice big size container for it to use either tonight or another time. But anyways, we put the lid on that, and then let me grab my lid for the ranch. And now, oops, the ranch is done. Now we are going to make the blue cheese, and again, it is almost identical to what the ranch is. So we're going to measure out the sour cream, again. And this one, I just get the blue cheese, buy it from Aldi's, and I like it. If you want a stronger blue cheese like a Roquefort, you can buy that as well. We did that one time, and it was a little too strong for me. I like blue cheese, but I don't like it super strong. I don't know why, but I just don't. I think it's just a little too pungent for my taste, and that's okay. You gotta find what you like. Oh, sorry, that's really loud. When it comes to the blue cheese part, I will usually only add half the container, but if you like blue cheese, you can add the full. Again, I like blue cheese, but I like a creamier one. Let me get a paper towel. Scraping out the bottom of that mayonnaise jar gets a little messy, and my spoon gets messy. Okay, so again, it's 3/4 cup of sour cream, and then it's 1 1/3 cup of the mayonnaise. So we're gonna go ahead and get that in there. Yeah, looks like we're at 1 cup. And again, I'm just using the same bowl for it. I didn't really clean it out. There's a little bit of the ranch right here, but again, I never have noticed it into the blue cheese when I have done it that way. All right, let's go 1/3. So I'm just going to set that down there, and then let me get rid of this one. Go ahead and put the lid back on here. All right, so again, it's almost the exact same measurements. And this time, actually, everything excluding the chives is going to be a 1/2 teaspoon. So it's going to be 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Okay, just stuck. I should have. Okay, and then again, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and it can be sea salt. It can be regular iodized salt. It could be all kinds of, you know, like you just don't want to have. You could even do kosher salt if you wanted to, but you don't really need more than like 1/2 teaspoon. So 1/2 teaspoon of onion. And this is where it's different from the ranch. I only do 1/2 teaspoon of garlic because I wanted a more garlicky ranch, but I didn't want my blue cheese to be so garlicky because I didn't want to lose that blue cheese flavor and it be covered by the garlic, because garlic can tend to be really, really strong. Okay, 1/2 teaspoon of mustard. Now, for the Worcestershire, it is still 1 teaspoon. I did not reduce that at all. And again, this is a 5-ounce container of blue cheese. I think they're all sold about the same size. I just do full fat, but you could always do like low fat if you wanted to. Yeah. Okay, 1 second. Let me get a knife because sometimes they like to give you packages that open easy, and other times they do not. So as you can see, there's my blue cheese. I'm only going to add about half of it in here, and then I'll leave about that much. And again, it's about half, maybe a little more, a little less. I can smell how strong it is, so I don't want to add any more for sure. And this will be just for the next batch of blue cheese dressing. Now, this blue cheese is good until January of next year, so it usually lasts a long time. I usually base my dates of the dressings on the date of the sour cream. So if it says best by, this is good till October 29th. So I know now we'll eat through it. Maybe not all of the blue cheese, it just depends on who has it, but we will definitely eat through the ranch before then. But that's how I kind of gauge how long it'll be. It's really based on the sour cream. And as you know, Best By is just the guaranteed freshness. It can last even past that, but I don't think it would hang around that long. to be an issue. So, and that's it. It is mixed up already done. And now we're just gonna put it in a container. And I just had already, these were clean, but I rinsed them out, dried them already. So I'm just gonna drop in the blue cheese. Now, this is my favorite. I love homemade ranch. But when it comes to chicken wings, I love blue cheese dressing, especially when we make it a hot wing and it's not a flavored sauce. Then just something about the buffalo wings being dipped into the blue cheese is one of my favorites. Even our youngest just cheered before I started this video when I said I was making chicken wings for dinner. So chicken wings are definitely a family favorite. And again, football season now, so now it's always time for some chicken wings. All right, so it's about as full as I can get it from there. So just wipe off the top of the jar. Go ahead and put my lid on, and then I will go get a container for the rest of this blue cheese, and then we will move on to how I prep in a two-part way of the chicken wings. Okay, so now it's time to get the chicken wings prepared. This takes about an hour and 20 minutes or so to make, doing it this way. I've got the oven preheating to 400, and I'm gonna go ahead and get my chicken wings out and get them cut and set up. We've done chicken wings several different ways. Obviously when you go out to get chicken wings, they're always deep fried usually. Obviously some places will smoke them, but for the most part everything's fried. Well, you always get super crispy, if fried correctly, super crispy wings. And so that's what I'm always looking for. And so I'm gonna just show you a trick that we've learned on how to make the crispiest wings. So I'm gonna get these rinsed. We'll get them on a paper towel, then we'll get them onto the cookie sheet and into the oven. Okay, so it's just shy of an hour, about 55 minutes, and the wings are right where I want them to be. You can see that they almost look cooked, but they're still they're done for sure, but they're soft. All right, so the oil just hit 350, so I'm gonna put the wings in, and we are gonna fry them up. It'll take a couple of batches to get all of these done, but it shouldn't take too long. And I don't know the exact timing. We'll kind of time it once I get them in here on how long it'll take, but obviously just fry them until you reach the crispiness level that you're looking at. All right, we'll stop right there. Now what I do have is a pan over here with paper towel and then a cookie sheet on it. I've lightly sprayed the cookie sheet with pan spray. Make sure if you do that, don't do it near an open flame, obviously, so they will drain on here, and that way they will stay crispy and they won't sit in their own oil and soften up at all. So we're gonna let those fry, and I'm just gonna kind of watch the time and see how long that takes. All right, so I have all the wings done. It took me 3 batches, 3 to 4 minutes each batch to get them to the crispy level that I like them. The edges are nice and crispy enough to be able to hold the sauce without sogging up the chicken wing, and yet they're still very tender on the inside. From here, I just keep them in the oven till the rest of the dinner is ready, and then you'll be able to see in just a moment what the wings look like on the cooling rack while I'm waiting to sauce them. And then you can add any sauce that you like. And we usually do like a buffalo and barbecue sauce mixture, which is what is on the wings. So thank you guys for joining me today as I show you how I make the crispiest chicken wings you'll ever have.